we couldn't have two more experienced people in this theater than the two of you. It's always amazed me, and Ms. Gottmiller, I appreciate your observation that we spar back and forth. You and I have done that over the years, but what's always struck me about this particular subject is when we are sparring, we almost never differ on the bottom line of where we're trying to get. Our problem is getting there. And I think a lot of it has to do, our disagreements have to do with the fact of who we're dealing with, and that is Putin, and what we can count on him for or not count on him for. And I'm interested in your suggestion that that New START be continued for an additional year, that it be extended for a year. As you know, I was opposed to it in the start and have all the way along. And I guess my initial inclination is, as we prepared for this hearing, was to obviously not extend it for the year because of all the cheating that Russia has done. And that's the problem I have. I mean, we're doing what we're supposed to do. They won't do what they're supposed to do. And we wind up tying our hands behind our back. And I guess my question to you is, and I'll let you take a run at this also, Mr. Billingsley, why would we do this given the nonsensical approach that Russia has taken to everything when it comes to security? Your thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, and indeed, I'm really aware of these compliance problems and violations because as the Assistant Secretary of State, I was responsible for doing the annual compliance report. So it was very much before me at every moment. And so I agree with you that Russia has been a serial violator of a number of treaties. But I really reflect, and it's clear in my longer testimony, I reflect on the history of the first Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, which came into force in 1994, the SORT Treaty, which was negotiated by President Bush, and the New START Treaty, negotiated by President Obama. When START entered into force in 1994, we had 12,000 deployed warheads on each side. And over the course of these three treaties, we have managed to bring that number down to 1,550 deployed warheads. So the point is that the treaties have played a role, and Russia has abided by these strategic arms reduction treaties with all the problems in other treaty arenas. They have abided by these. It's brought the number of deployed warheads down, and it's kept them under control in this period of a terrible war of aggression in Ukraine. And so I do believe that we have to look carefully. Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. I agree with that. We have to look carefully and watch what they're up to. And if they are abiding by a treaty, as they have complied with START, the SORT Treaty, and New START, then I think that we need to pay attention to that and think then clearly about what's in our national security interests. That's the first and most important issue.
Thank you, Ms. Gottmiller. I wonder, Mr. Billingsley, are you in agreement about the extension with conditions that Ms. Gottmiller has recommended?
Chairman, I would recommend against that for a variety of reasons. First, Russia is a serial treaty violator. They are in violation today, flagrant violation of the New START Treaty. They have precluded on-site inspections and so on and so forth. They are in the process of developing, they're in the process of developing a nuclear weapon to put on orbit in violation of the Outer Space Treaty. They are in violation of the Chemical Weapons Convention. They've used Novichok as an assassin agent. They're in violation, we believe, of their nuclear testing pledge. We know that they have been doing supercritical tests at their test site in Novaya Zemlya. What we need to do is we need to first determine as a nation what our requirements are for our nuclear arsenal in this rapidly changing and dramatically worsening threat environment. Once you know what the requirements are, you can then move out to negotiate. You know what the parameters are for your negotiations. But we haven't yet done that. The Biden administration did not come to terms with this worsening equilibrium, and this administration has not yet done a nuclear posture review either. So we urgently need that nuclear posture review, which will then help fashion and guide our negotiators for what we want to achieve with regard to the Russians and the Chinese. But if you simply extend the New START treaty, as Secretary Guttmuller is recommending, what you do is you further postpone all of the other things that I enumerated in my testimony that we urgently need to do, like beginning to reconvert the Ohio-class submarines. We won't be able to do that if we extend New START. You also take all the pressure off the Russians. If you give them another year and we don't address their non-strategic nuclear weapons, they have no incentive to either come to the table on those topics, to come to the table on Skyfall and Poseidon, or to help us get the Chinese into the negotiations. For these reasons, I think it's an ill-advised move at this stage.
Well, thank you. As usual, I find myself on your side rather than Ms. Gottmiller's side, but let's talk about that. And by the way, I thought I coined the term serial treaty violator at some time in the past. Thank you for picking that up. It's appropriate. Ms. Gottmiller, one of the things I think we can all agree on is the observation that Mr. Billingsley made at the beginning, and that is, we're sitting here talking about the constraints on these kinds of weapons, but at the same time, there are no constraints on the theater-based weapons. And to me, if anybody was ever inclined to use a nuclear weapon, it would probably be that, as opposed to an intercontinental strike. But yet, there's no constraints on that, and I guess we can't go into in this setting that isn't a classified setting. We can't go into the position of each of the parties and numbers and that sort of thing. But we're not in very good shape in that respect, and so. Well, one of the things that gets me to the point of where Mr. Billingsley is that we're just spinning our wheels without having constraints. And then, of course, overlying all of this is the fact that Russia is indeed a serial treaty violator. They just don't keep their word. So I'll give you the last shot at it, Ms. Gottman.
All right, sir, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I did want to agree with my colleague that the Russians are violating the New START treaty by seizing implementation. This was determined by the Biden administration. There is not, in fact, any treaty language that would allow them to seize implementation. It's not part of the treaty. But I did want to refer you to the compliance report from 2024 that stated the United States assesses with high confidence that Russia did not engage in any large-scale activity above the treaty limits in 2024. We don't yet have the 2025 compliance report, but I just refer you to that comment. So what I mean is they are keeping to the warhead limits of New START as far as we
and of course, those limits are only as to deployed warheads.
Deployed warheads, of course. And now I'm coming to your question.
Whatever that means.
Yes, I'm coming to your question about the non-strategic warheads. And I really was very much admiring the move of the Trump administration during his first term in office when President Trump got President Putin to agree to a freeze on all warheads, deployed and non-deployed, strategic and non-strategic. To me, this was a vital first step in a negotiation we all needed to see happen, and that was the one to follow New START. Again, Mr. Billingsley already referred to this. Vladimir Putin wouldn't come to the table, but President Trump, with Mr. Obama, but President Trump then had him coming to the table to talk about this freeze in warheads, which was a vital first step in controlling warheads. And I thought that this really was responding to the top priority we laid out in the resolution of ratification of New START, that we needed to go after the Russian exotic systems and after Russian non-strategic and strategic warheads. So we have that, I think, important precedent laid down. I, for one, hope that the Trump administration will move forward now with restoring that idea of a freeze on warheads with the Putin Kremlin and move forward then to constrain these warheads. It's definitely the next priority for negotiations, and it's one that we all agree on.